husband, coming that incident is also from Rajasthan. And talking about corruption, I'm surprised that on the one hand you remove somebody from the union cabinet on charges of corruption. You have promoted this person as a chief minister, if anything, much before the charges could even be proved or disproved in the court. So Congress party's Chintan Shivir, I mean, my Hindi is poor. I for a minute thought, is this a Chinta Shivir which is going on? If you're really looking at issues, just do not speak about it if you do not want to follow it up. And if you're speaking about it, certainly. Your manifesto in 2009 had specific lines. They had said that they will provide energy security for everybody. We will ensure energy security. I'm quoting from the manifesto of the Congress 2009. We will ensure energy security for everybody. We will implement a scheme to supply energy to poor families at affordable prices. What do we find today? Today, particularly today, you're fluctuating on the ceiling or the cap that you brought on LPGs. 6 sometimes, 9 sometimes, or else 6 it is for some time, and then you lecture to other governments to say, if you want to do it at your level, but why don't you do it at that level? Rather than keeping up the promise that you've given in your own manifesto of 2009. Affordable energy for the poor? What is this increase in diesel price that you've come up with? When inflation is remaining uncontrolled, I take this opportunity to go back to the statement or the preface to the Chintan Shivir that Sri Jairam Ramesh has given us. He has spoken about, yes, it was a policy during Deva Gowdaji's time, also during NDA time, to have small increases. Please let us not talk about just in patches. NDA time, there was a policy. There is no policy now. Increases, if it were done, and after deregulation, the increases were very small. That's what you want to come to do now. You're learning from the experience of NDA and others very well. We are happy for the nation. But that is exactly what you've been criticizing for the last 9 years. You have changed about 4 petroleum ministers. There is no consistency in your policy. I'm glad to say during Atal Bihari Vajpayee's time, there was just one Sri Ram Nayak who completed his full 5 years, and energy, LPG distribution, nothing of it worried the common man. He could take as many cylinders as he wanted without hesitation, and he could have as many new connections as he wanted without thinking about it. But what is this government doing now after having stated in its manifesto that they will give energy security? So the Congress's review meeting which is going on is setting a roadmap for 2014 as is reported from the media, through the media. If their talk and if their deeds don't match, and if the review is not an honest review, I am afraid we stand vindicated on very many criticisms which we have shown in the last few years. Thank you.
Mr. Aishwarya.
Ma'am, in this same speech of Sonia Gandhi, she has also referred to the dependence of the gaining dependence of Congress onto the All Act. So it's being seen as if Congress might be eyeing the present allies of the NDA, that is JDU party, that's JDU and the BJD, and then with the raising issue of then Narendra Modi being dropped up as the Prime Ministerial candidate, and then BJD and JDU having an issue with it. Do you seem as if Congress is trying to push them out of the NDA?
Talking about alliance partners, you've raised actually a very interesting and an important issue being drawn from Srimati Gandhi's speech. It's now known in this country that they are unable to keep their alliance partners happy. Alliance partners consulted on critical issues, alliance partners taken into confidence on every one of the issue on which they should have really been taken into confidence. They're not doing any of that. The existing alliance partners are not being given the respect of an alliance partner. They are not taken into confidence. They are not consulted. And if what I am hearing from you is they are looking for newer partners, it's astonishing that while on the one hand they don't seem to keep their existing partners happy, you have every day some partner coming out. Even today you had two of the critical and important partners coming out and speaking against the government's decision on diesel. On the other hand, they're looking for newer partners. Good luck to them. But certainly, I would definitely, giving an answer to your question there, say that in dealing with alliance partners, they may probably be better off looking into the experience of Shri Atal Bihari Vajpayee, who kept his alliance partners continuously in consultation, giving respect to them, and managed to run a successful coalition of more than 25 parties. They may probably look into that experiment and also benefit during the Chintan Shivir.
Just a supplementary to that, ma'am, the whole issue of a ruling government, and never before that actually Congress leaders have gone on record in saying that it is going to be difficult for them to get majority, and for a ruling government to actually say that in 2014 they will getting majority will not be easier. Earlier it was Jairam Ramesh and then P. Chidambaram. Both of them have very clearly mentioned that they will be dependent on the alliance partners. So how do you see this?
For a national party, prior to an election year, to start their review saying they may not be able to come back to power on their own is a very good, for me, sitting in the opposition and looking at them, for me, is a very good start. It's very well for a ruling party to say that they may not be able to come back. I would think also because of their performance.
They've also said that, Sonia Gandhi has also said that there's a disconnect between young leaders and the senior leaders. So is that the reason why?
Well, it's for them to look at what were the causes, certainly. They have lost the trust of the people of this country is something which they'll have to definitely think about, I would think.
Conversely, if it comes to that, are you confident, is the BJP confident of going into the next election on its own without allies?
It is one thing for any party, inclusive of the Congress, to say whether they can come back to power on their own or whether they're looking for partners or anything else. But for a party which has claimed that they've given excellent growth, being in power today and going for an election as the incumbent government there, to say that it may be difficult, I think is more of admission because of failure rather than a realistic assessment of how coalition politics is moving towards in the future in the country. I see it as a clear admission of their failure rather than talk about the coalition era that is governing India. And therefore, in that context, my answer for my party, probably whenever it is necessary later, will be different.
Mr. Sujit Thakur, Raj will come to you. Raj.
Absolutely not. I have definitely given an answer for Radhika's question. I have understood the question. It is one thing to talk about coalition politics. It is another, in the context of coalition politics, to cover up for non-performance. And that's what is happening there. Based on the performance of the Congress and based on the mood that prevails in the country today, it is completely anti-Congress. And therefore, obviously, all of us feel very clearly that it is not going to be a Congress government coming back in 2014 because their performance has been completely rejected by the people of India.
Mr. Akhilesh Sharma. Mr. Akhilesh Sharma.
The one who's in power for us is the Congress, and it is their performance about which we are talking. The opposition parties will tell about what they are hoping to do subsequently, but today the Chintan Shivir is the context.
Mr. Akhilesh Sharma.
बात ये आ रही कि अगले महीने फरवरी में नरेंद्र मोदी को कैंपेन कमेटी का चेयरमैन बनाया सकता है, क्या पोजीशन है नरेंद्र मोदी की
पार्टी में नरेंद्र मोदी जी बहुत सीनियर लीडर है, बहुत सारे लोगों को इसका जानकारी है, आपको भी है, मुझे भी है। मगर इस विषय में अगर कोई आप मेरे से जवाब मांग रहे हैं, अभी तो मेरे पास कुछ जवाब देने का नहीं है। These are not questions on which I have any brief to answer now.
JDU has also welcomed what Jairam Ramesh has said today earlier in the day in Jaipur. And they said very categorically that BJP is trying, that BJP declares the Prime Ministerial candidate well in advance. What is the party doing? Again and again, this question is coming about from one of your, one of the very important allies, and they very categorically said that BJP should now declare the Prime Ministerial candidate.
Now that they've said, we'll pass this message even coming from you to the party leadership.
Nirmala ji, it is well known that Mr. Nitish Kumar has been saying this about declaring a leader for the Lok Sabha for the past at least 4 months. So has the party taken a view on whether you will project a leader for the coming elections, or you will like to go into election without a projected face?
These are not issues on which we are talking today, and when there is an occasion for it, we'll certainly talk about it. Today we are talking on Chintan Shivir and the ruling party going into an introspection mode. It is a matter for all of us to talk about, isn't it? It is only after that we'll have to talk about whatever is any other issue.
You do not think a decades-old ally of yours, if they're insisting on a demand, it is time the party takes a stand or a view on that point?
Well, it might take, whenever it takes, we'll come and brief you on it.
Mr. Parsa.
सवाल चिंतन शिविर से जुड़ा हुआ है। आपने खुद जिक्र किया है कि चिंतन शिविर कांग्रेस का है, वहां पर वो नरेंद्र मोदी के बारे में भी बातचीत कर रहे हैं।
Oh, really? जब बात कर रहे हैं, नहीं, जब वो बात कर रहे हैं और उनके प्रेस रिलीज कुछ आता है, उसके कंटेंट्स के ऊपर तब रिस्पॉन्ड करेंगे।
वो गडकरी जी के बारे में बात नहीं कर रहे, वाजपेयी जी के बारे में बात नहीं कर रहे, उस्मान जी के बारे में बात नहीं कर रहे, वो मोदी के बारे में बात कर रहे हैं।
जिनके ऊपर भी वो बात करेंगे, जब वो खुलासा आएगा, आपके द्वारा जरूर आएगा, आने के समय बात कर रहे हैं, क्यों स्पेकुलेट करें अभी?
Mr. Parsha.
Do you deny sufficient satisfaction from Mr. Gandhi's speech that BJP's hopes are rising in 2004?
I'm actually worried. I'm actually concerned that she is still losing an opportunity to address issues on which the people of this country want to hear from her. Issues of corruption, issues of price rise, double speak of the Congress on these matters, as I've just taken the example to tell you. These are issues on which this Chintan Shivir, I hope, will give us some inputs, on which I would have expected Srimati Sonia Gandhi's speech to at least flag off concerns. But on the issues where the nation wants to hear from her, we've not heard much. She has spoken, of course, on many issues and that there should be an introspection. Yes, please. But shouldn't these be issues on which I've highlighted? There be an introspection too? That's what I would be feeling. Their failure to introspect on these issues worry the nation is what I want to highlight. Because what it does to the BJP, we'll certainly tell you. But today, honestly, if we had heard from the lack of direction, the lack of leadership, on the double speak that they have, entered into about dealing with issues related to corruption, double speak on the Aam Aadmi, while you shed tears for him, you're really not reducing his burden by increasing the prices of diesel and fuel now, on curtailing the availability of cylinders now, especially when there is so much of inflation already on his shoulder. You have not done anything on the inflation front too. That's why I'm saying double speak. That's why I'm saying if you don't hear anything from her on it, it's very worrying for the nation.
Are you demoralized that you're being so modest about the whole thing?
Demoralized about what?
I mean, you're not asking you the alternative. What are you doing?
The alternative will tell you about the constructive ways in which we'll revive the economy. And in this, the example that I took, the 3 committees, which the government thought it could just raise a committee, our participation, Shri Narendra Modi's participation, Shri Dr. Raman Singh's participation, have all been there. On PDS, Raman Singh has explained as to how you can deal with the better distribution of food. You're not looking at it. You want to bypass that and go into a very, food security bill, which is going to come into a very severe criticism because it's adding to the crisis that your country is facing in deficit. The budgetary deficit is going to get added, but you have a running system which is PDS, which you do not want to improve on. You're not looking at the CAG's comments on the poor implementation of the loan waiver scheme, the one-time loan waiver scheme which she brought in. And the CAG has said how it has failed the people of India. On that, there is nothing happening. We are, on the contrary, constructively engaging with the government, whether in the committees that they form, to control price, to improve the efficiency of the PDS, whether you're looking at these sort of issues, we're willing to participate with the government to say, please improve the system because Aam Aadmi is suffering. So that's the constructive engagement of an opposition party. And therefore, I'm saying, as an alternative, we are repeatedly showing signs and also indicating to the government that how better you could have functioned if only your commitment to the Aam Aadmi is genuine. And on this issue of the diesel price regulation, deregulation, isn't the NDA model now standing vindicated? Haven't we proved that we were better at controlling the diesel prices, keeping it well within affordable rates of the common man? Those were the achievements of NDA. Certainly, therefore, as an alternative, we have better answers for managing the economy. And when you're talking of corruption and when you're talking of issues related to corruption, where is the Congress? I am highlighting the fact as an opposition. We are not only constructively engaging with you, we are giving you suggestions on how better to work for the economy, how better to work in order to remove corruption. You're not looking at it.
On corruption, where is the BJP? Because if you just go through the social networking sites, I mean, there are very uncharitable, uncomplimentary remarks about the prospective re-announcement of Mr. Gadkari as the head of your party. I mean, these are not my comments. You just have to check Facebook and Twitter.
I'm giving you an example. I'm happy you're raised to the example on the corruption issue. The question today, on the day when Congress's Chintan Shivir is happening, you have removed a gentleman from the cabinet and you've reappointed him as chief minister. High standards in corruption, I suppose.
He was voted to power by the people of Himachal Pradesh.
So are you suggesting then that once you win an election, all your sins are washed out?
I mean, that's the claim you're making for Mr. Modi.
Certainly not. There is no charge against Mr. Modi, Radhika. I would want you to underline that. There is no charge. Whereas here in the context of the CM promoted from the cabinet, there are charges being tried in the court. Please let us not compare. There is nothing, not a single charge against Mr. Narendra Modi, and let us not repeat such lines which are not true.
Mr. Vikas Bhadoria.
I do not know. We'll announce it for you.
निर्मला जी, कांग्रेस के चिंतन शिविर में सबसे बड़ी चिंता ये है कि प्रधानमंत्री का कैंडिडेट बीजेपी की तरफ से कौन होगा, क्या नरेंद्र मोदी होंगे, बार-बार वो कह रहे हैं। क्या बीजेपी को भी चिंता है कि राहुल गांधी को वो कांग्रेस कैंडिडेट बनाएंगे?
Because I'm glad you raised that question. For a party which is in power, running the second term, about to complete a second term, they are more worried about who our opposition party's PM will be. Let them say, are they continuing with Dr. Manmohan Singh? Let them say openly that, let them say, announce to the public of India that they are continuing with the Prime Minister, Dr. Manmohan Singh. They are not talking about it. Whereas there is also a lot of clamor about how speculations are going on. If the General Secretary would be made a Prime Ministerial candidate, are we then saying that this Prime Minister has failed to perform? Has this Prime Minister failed to perform? Why is the speculation then that there is a General Secretary who is waiting to take over? These are questions which they should think about during the Chintan Shivir. Is that the message they want to give? And if that's the message they want to give, may as well say it out. And if you're saying it out, then we'll tell you about what is going to happen in the NDA.
But ma'am, why should you imitate the Congress party?
I'm not imitating, sir. There's a question asked. I'm giving an answer for it.
Don't interrupt, please.
2008, Mr. Advani was declared your candidate. Now this is 2013. Well in advance you were announced as your party prime minister candidate. Why are you not doing it this time?
We'll do it when we want to do it. We will certainly tell you when we want to do it. But the context is of a question which has been raised about the ruling party which claims that excellent growth has been given in the last 9 years. And if there's also simultaneously that more responsibilities are being given, issues of, joy being seen in a youthful leader and so on, very well, we welcome it. But then does it admit implicitly Does it admit that that Prime Minister has failed?
But what do you have in Congress by declaring that they're hunting for allies? Somewhere or the other, they're pushing the BJP, in a sense, that could drop the.
Certainly not. That's exactly where I told you. They are unable to keep their own alliance partners happy. Periodically, they have not even been consulted in the cabinet on issues of policy matters which are very important. And if they're looking out for alliance partners elsewhere with this kind of a track record, good luck to them.
Ma'am, but is BJP confident to keep their own house together, to keep the flock together, especially parties like the JDU?
BJP's alliance partners are all there with us even today. About tomorrow, you and me will come again here. Tomorrow we'll talk about it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.